Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And we love rolling rates.
We do, and we've got some exciting ones to talk about today. Well, they're standalone games that can be put together. I look familiar, but we're going to talk about Cascadia, Rolling Rivers, and Rolling Hills today. These games are published by Flatout Games and AEG. They're designed by Randy Flynn, and the art is done by Beth Sobel.
In this game, you'll be rolling dice, acquiring various wildlife, and building habitats on your player sheet in hopes of scoring the most points. Let's give you a quick overview of how to play. As always, you'll begin by setting up. Each player will receive 2 personal dice, a tally sheet, a player aid, and an environment sheet that you'll choose for the game. You'll place the 4 central dice in the center of the play area, prepare the habitat cards deck, flip a single card over, and you're now ready to play. Cascadia Rolling is played over a course of 20 rounds, and in each of the rounds you'll follow these 3 steps. The first step is to roll dice. You'll roll the 4 central dice and your 2 personal dice. The second step is to collect wildlife. Here you'll check the central special dice, take dice action if you wish, and then record the collected animals on your tally sheet. The last step, which is also optional, is to complete a habitat card. You'll first choose a habitat in the center of the area to complete. You'll apply any discounts if there's any present. You'll pay the cost. Then you'll receive the habitat and completion card bonuses. Then you'll mark the environment sheet corresponding to that habitat and take any environment sheet bonuses. And that's a round. At the end of the round, you'll place the rightmost habitat card in the discard, slide the remaining cards 1 space over, and flip over a new card from the deck. Now the game ends after 20 rounds when there's no more habitat cards in the draw pile. You'll tally your points from your environment sheet and the player with the most points wins. Will you have the best roll and get all bears?
That sounds like a bad roll.
That was a bad roll.
That was a bad roll.
All different animals.
All different animals. Oh well. What did you think of Cascadia Rolling?
Well, we actually got to play a prototype version of this a fair bit back.
Yeah.
And I think from day one, I was in awe of just how much is in this game.
Yeah.
The different maps, the way that it flows so smoothly. I feel like it's extremely well thought out. And dare I say, it raises the bar for rolling rates.
It does. It's very interesting to see. We've played a lot of roll and writes, but we are always interested in like the implementation or reverse implementation of like a board game into a roll and write board game or vice versa. With Cascadia being as amazing as it is, it was really exciting to get our hands on these games and be able to play through them and enjoy them as much as we did. They stay true to the Cascadia vibe, that's definitely for sure, but they're like a whole different game.
There's a lot of different puzzles, a lot of different strategies, and I just couldn't stop playing it. It was so much fun.
Exactly.
And I still can't stop playing it. So I'm really excited to be chatting about this today.
And that's a perfect segue into talking about why we think you should check these 2 games out.
Well, the first point that we're going to talk about is how much is in each of these boxes.
Not only are they standalone games, they are, you can kind of clash them together, right? So you can make the games an 8-player game essentially. You have to use like one of the maps from this and then like just from this game or one of the maps just from this game. But the game gets bigger if you have both of them, which is absolutely amazing. But you don't need one of them.
No. There can be standalone boxes and there's a lot of game in each of them. But like Tyler said, mixing them provides more variability with completion cards, with the habitats, with the dice. And it actually essentially infinitely scales up. You can get a bunch of boxes and play with 12 players or 16 players, which is really great. Now, there's also 4 different versions of the map, and each of them just in this one and in this one. And although the maps are similar in each of them, but independently they're quite different, and they provide different level of strategy.
Yes.
I think when I first played it, I almost thought that each map could be its own game because of how different it is.
Yeah. The whole thing around this is that there is small box, small price point, but a lot of game. You're going to be able to enjoy every type of map. It's almost like each of the maps were thought through like with different groups of people in mind. And I think that the next point to bring up is like, because it has that ranging complexity and the large scale variability, that this game is definitely worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, I like that point of just, you can introduce this to somebody who has not played Roll and Writes before, and you can use that map A, because it is quite simple in what you're doing, and it's really straightforward in what you're doing. But map 4, ooh,
yeah, it's puzzly.
It's puzzly. It's quite complex. It's definitely a heavier Roll and Write, and the fact that both of those versions are in one game is really interesting, because you don't necessarily have to switch between games, and I think that's always really welcoming to new players, because you're not relearning a whole game. You're just changing the rule set slightly, increasing the complexity, and still playing the same game.
Yeah, and you can get a feel for like the ranging difficulty strategy type in games, and just by playing this box, so you can almost like get this game and scale up to other types of games that you might be interested in. You can kind of like get those vibes of what types of games you might be interested in, and then at the same time, if you want to talk about it the reverse way, maybe you're looking for just something like light to mid-weight. Some of the like the first 2 maps, absolutely fantastic for that. You don't even have to veer to the next couple of maps if you don't want to. You'd be missing out, but it's always an option not to have to go and play those.
And I think one of the last things we'll mention is the strategy within this game. There's a lot of different decision points in this game that leave me personally coming back again and again and again, because there's that decision of which wildlife to take, and can you downscale or upscale to maximize a certain amount. There's a decision of, do I get the habitat right away that I can afford, or do I save up my resources to get something later that could be worth potentially more points on my sheet. There's also the whole twist with completion bonuses or discounts, of working through your way through of like, oh, if I wait for this habitat to get to this space, I can get a pretty good benefit that can potentially help me get even more points. And paired all of that together, it seems like it's a lot, but because you're making these decisions kind of in intervals, it doesn't feel as heavy as it could be, I think, which just tickles my strategy brain and makes me extremely happy.
Yeah, I mean, even to that point too, this game is basically simultaneous play, and with that, it does become slightly more solitary. You don't have to necessarily worry that other people will be taking your things, which always is like a breath of fresh air when it comes to like playing out your own little game, especially when there's those tight decisions that you really want to make, or you want to maybe plan through. But it is nice to like not always have to worry about that player interaction. Of course, if you want player interaction, you're probably not going to get that from either of these games, so it might not be worth checking out. But that's besides the point. The other thing that I would just mention is that people are probably wondering how it compares to Cascadia, the base game. Honestly, completely different game. This is a great implementation of a roll and write from another game that I think a lot of other board games could lean into. Honestly, I think that's really, really cool to see it being done. Having Cascadia be such a popular game, a lot of people are going to lean into these games, I hope, and experience a whole different thing. The icons will be the same. You'll get similar vibes, of course, with the art and the theme, but at the end of the day, they are very different, and you're going to get a whole other experience from the game that, honestly, is just quite fantastic to see.
Except there is one map that is very similar to Cascadia.
That is true.
Where you're actually placing the animals, and you want the 2 bears, for example, can't touch other bears. And I really like that, because it is quite complex to think through, but it gives that all those like vibes of like, oh, I could have made this in Cascadia, and this could have worked out one way or another.
Yeah, you're always going to be really drawing those lines. I think when, especially if you played Cascadia, the base game, or even the expansion landmarks, if you've played that too, like they're definitely going to be drawing lines and comparisons, but other than that, I think like they've done a good job at making that separation clear enough that these games have been fantastic to play, deserve a spot on our shelf, as well as the Cascadia game. So.
Exactly. Well, is there anything else for overall thoughts?
Honestly, as a roll and write fan, like I was very excited to see this happening. Obviously, I've said it before, but this is a fantastic implementation of a board game that we already love into a roll and write version.
This is a top tier roll and write, and it makes me even more excited to revisit our top 10 list because there's been so many good roll and writes that have recently come out. And I will say this is a game that is so friendly for all sorts of gaming groups. The Cascadia lineup is simply fire.
Yes.
With the original game, with the expansion, and now these, I feel like this is the family of games to watch for moving forward.
Yeah, we certainly enjoyed them, and we hope you do. We hope this gave you a good idea of like what you can expect from the games, and of course, if you would like to learn more, these games are on Kickstarter, depending on when you're watching it. So go ahead and check out the links down below to learn a little bit more. And if you have any questions, leave some comments down there as well.
Now, for our question of the day, what is a roll and write implementation you would like to see of one of your favorite games?
Exactly, yeah.
Mine just happened.
This was fantastic.
Well, if you enjoyed our comment, give us that thumb up.
Hit that subscribe button if you are new here. And of course, stick around for more board game content because we make things like this on a weekly basis.
Things like this. And we actually did a how to play video for this game. So hit that right there if you want to learn exactly how this game is played.
Exactly. Until then, or until next time, I suppose, we will see you later.
Bye-bye.